Good afternoon, everybody. I would like to share a story with you about Y2K. And while this one doesn't have anything to do with computers, it does have a nice wipeout at the end. Or a big crash, I should say. On New Year's Day 2000, there was a good swell at Peahi, or Jaws as it's more commonly known. And my tow partner, Laird, who I do a lot of big wave riding with, was out of town supporting his wife at the time, Gabby, who's a professional volleyball player. So in the hierarchy of Peahi, Laird's number one, and I'm number two. And so on this particular day, with Laird gone, I was going to be the man. And I had been surfing very good lately, and I was feeling confident, and I was like, all right, today I'm going to own it. I'm going to rewrite how this whole thing's done, and we're going to set a new bar. And so my first couple waves, my partner that particular day, Brett Lickle, tows me into a couple of good waves, and feeling good about myself, and kicking out and going out to the peak again. I catch my third wave, and this thing is beautiful. It's setting up nice, and I'm going to pull in and get tubed. And I'm looking down the line, and the whole thing is exactly how I envisioned it. I come off the bottom, waves standing up. And to give you some scale of what I'm looking at, the waves were what we would call 15 to 20 foot that day. And that's Hawaiian scale. In reality, that's about 30 to 40 feet. So approximately at least as high as the ceiling is here in the auditorium. So I'm coming off the bottom, and this whole thing's setting up. My chest is out a little bit more than it usually is. I come up into the face, and I'm kind of hitting the brakes so the whole thing can pitch over me. And I hit this bump that I didn't see or anticipate. And I land, if I'm traveling this particular direction, I land going backwards. And my first thought is, this isn't good, but I'm going to make it because today's my day. That's the plan. And about half a second later, I'm on my back sliding down this wave thinking, I'm still going to figure out how to make this because this is not going to happen to me today. And unfortunately, about half a second after that, realization sets in, and no, this is happening. And I had this strange thought come over me and this calmness. And I just thought, this is what Greg Knoll and the guys at Waimea back in the 60s must have felt like as they were sliding down the wave at Waimea on that black and white footage that we've all seen. And I just kind of giggled and laughed and went, wow, so this is what it looks like from his perspective. And so about another second goes by, and that little moment of pause is interrupted by penetrating down into the water. And I know very well, and any surfers in the audience would know, that means about a few seconds later, you're going to be going over the falls. But like I say, it's going to be a pretty good over the falls. And so practicality sets in, and I know I need some air. Or if I get some air, it's going to make everything a lot easier after that. And so I start swimming for the surface, and it's calm, and I know I'm going over, but I'm like, if I can get that breath of air before I go, it's going to make things a lot easier. So a couple strokes into it, I'm getting closer to the surface of the water. Third stroke, I'm about a foot away. I take that final stroke, I start to extend my lips, my neck's reaching. I'm just literally half an inch from the surface of the water. I can see the blue sky, the water stretching out from being pulled as it's going over. Bam, lights go out. Didn't get that breath of air. And so now I'm just getting ragdolled, upside down, somersaults, pulling my arms and legs in so that things literally don't get ripped off or dislocated. But in that situation, while it can be very overwhelming, you're trying to stay as calm as possible because panic equates to use of oxygen. And at that particular moment, the less oxygen you can use and be more efficient, the better you're going to handle the situation. So I'm trying to stay calm, and on the first wave, typically you're never going to drown because you've got a lot of oxygen in your blood and you've got a lot of energy. So you can usually manage the first wave. And although it was very scary and it was very dark, as I'm swimming back up, I'm not seeing any light. And I know light's a good sign in this particular situation. So after a few strokes, meaning about 8 or 10 strokes, finally there's a little bit of light in the air. I've got my eyes open. And that tells me I'm somewhere between 4 to 8, maybe 10 feet from the surface. So that gives me some indication. It gives me confidence. It lets me know I'm probably going to make it. A couple more strokes. I can tell I'm just a few feet from the surface. Take that last stroke, break the surface. Big breath of air. Now, when I broke the surface, I'm looking out at the ocean, and I can see a giant whitewater coming. And I know I've got about 3 to 4 seconds. The other thing I see about 5 feet away from me is Mark Angulo, one of my other tow partners, on a jet ski, knowing that I was going to be in a critical situation, coming in to rescue me. And so my thought process is, well, if I don't get on the ski, I'm going to get just pummeled. But if I do get on the ski, I'm still going to get pummeled, but that ski and the rescue sled are going to float better than I would. So I get on the ski, he hits the accelerator, bam, we just get slammed from behind by this whitewater that's good size, let's say. And while we're totally engulfed in this whitewater, I can tell we're still upright and we're moving in. And I start thinking, hey, we just might make this. And right about when I think that, I fall into this big column, elevator going down, and I can just tell the pressure in my ears is not good. More pressure, more depth. And so I'm going down, 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 and I realize I kind of have this internal conversation with myself. If I was ever going to have trouble, this might be it. Which is not a good thing, because if you try and handle the entire situation, it's very easy to overwhelm yourself. So in that particular situation, the more you can compartmentalize the situation and just handle what's right in front of you, the less panic you experience and the more you deal with the task at hand, which in this case is getting back to the surface. So I think to myself, you know, if you're ever going to have trouble, this might be it. But if you're going down fighting, buddy. So let's go. Couple strokes, 3 strokes, 4 strokes, total pitch black. All of a sudden, my body goes into this total involuntary, complete convulsion. About 3 of these just neck-snapping convulsions. And I don't understand what's going on. And I come to find out later what that was my body trying to breathe, but I still had enough consciousness not to open my airway, thus the convulsions. But at the time, I don't know what's going on. I do a quick inventory of my arms and legs after this happens, and I'm like, well, I'll figure the rest out later. My body's still working. We got some ground to cover. So I'm working my way up. It's still dark. I'm about 10 strokes into this. Finally, there's a little bit of light. All right, I might make it. A few more strokes. Bam, break the surface. Carbon copy. The guy who towed me into the wave, Brett Lickle, is literally 5 feet away from me. There's another whitewater exactly the same size. I've got about 3 to 4 seconds. The difference this time is I know that if I don't get on that sled, I probably won't make it back to the surface again. So I climb on, and the first thought that goes through my mind is that even if my body's not still back here, my hands better still be holding onto this sled. Because I know if I come off of this sled, there's a better chance I'm not going to make it back up than there is I will make it. So it's literally life or death at this point. And different from the last time, as soon as that wave hits us from behind, there's no, oh, we might make it. We instantly went tumbling over and doing somersaults, and his feet are hitting me in the head, and I'm hitting him with my feet, and we're tacoing and rolling, and I can tell he's holding onto the handlebars, and I've got my death grip on the rescue sled. And finally, after, say, 8, 10 seconds underwater holding onto this jet ski, the wave finally releases us. And I could tell we just went surging up towards the surface, and I'm holding onto the sled, and it's pulling me up. And I swim out from underneath the ski, and my partner, Brett, happens to swim out on the same side, and we break the surface together. And I'll never forget it. I look him straight in the eye, and I said, I love you. You just saved my life. And so my next thought is, Brett, get me on a wave now. Because I am so petrified that if I don't get on a wave this particular moment, I might never surf again. And this is extremely real. I mean, this is life or death to me, even though that situation's over, because I'm so petrified. So we race over to the support boat. We grab another board. I go, I don't care if it's knee-high or 100 feet. The first thing that moves, you put me on it. And so we drive out there, and immediately there's a 30-footer, let's say, 25, 30-footer, not even that big of a wave for Peahi. And I'm out on the shoulder of it, and I'm way away from the critical section, and something's not right. I'm like, God, did I not put fins in this board, or only one fin? There's straps backwards, something's going on. And I look down at my knees, and they're shaking so violently. I'm like, oh my God, you got to get a hold of yourself. You really are scared. So I get to the channel, and he picks me up, and I say, same thing. You get me on a wave. I don't care who's on it. I don't care how big it is. You get me on another one. And so this goes on for about 10 minutes. And eventually I calm down. I work my way back into the critical section of the wave and ended up having a good day. Needless to say, that experience changed my perspective a little bit. But while I had a plan coming into that particular day, what it taught me was sometimes, as good as plans are, and we all need them, and they're important, the plan changes. And you need to be in that moment. And when I was underwater, the one thing that I had to worry about wasn't what bill I had to pay or how my kid was doing in school or whatever your situation might be. In the moment, getting through the next stroke. Not even worrying about 2 or 3 strokes. In that stroke, in that moment, managing what you can right now. And at that time, for me, it was 1 stroke at a time. And get through this stroke, all right? Now we can worry about the next one. And so, while that experience did teach me many things, that's one of the things that I took away with it and has managed to integrate it into my life when things aren't going according to plan. One thing at a time. Get into the moment. Manage what you can manage, 1 step at a time, whether it's a race, whatever it is, 1 stroke at a time. But get yourself there and do what you can do, and pretty soon that 1 step becomes 2 and 3, and before you know, you've made it through that. So thank you.